Suga dooga da boo ba doo ba doo. We're live on Drummers
Yeah.
Education Connection, and I was humming the ocean. I am here with my good friend Rick Stojak. Jeremy is not here today. Last minute cancellation, and Chip last minute cancellation. They're not feeling well today, so we wish them the best. But over on my far right, your far left, I don't know how your computer is. We have the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Dupke. I got it
Howdy.
right.
Yeah,
I
Mike.
got it right.
What's going on? Glad to be here, fellas.
This is awesome,
Drum
man.
battle. Yeah, man.
Yes, we're going to talk about drums and stuff like that. Mike is an amazing drummer. We got to hang out last week, 2 weeks ago, actually, at the Sabian Nam Hang. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Mike has played for, you name it, in heavy metal, man. This guy's done it. He's played for the biggest names. He's played for w.a.s.p. He's also played for John Cougar. He has played for Hair of the Dog. He played for D. Schneider. My God, come on, come on. And just a couple of weeks ago, actually, when I saw Mike at the show the other day, I said, "Hey, didn't you just play with Shark Island a couple of weeks ago?" And he goes, "Yeah, I did. That was a great show." So, Mike, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah,
always happy to be, hang around with. It's always great when drummers get together because, it's like I can't talk to my bass player. Oh, what do you think about this 4-ply versus 6-ply? And they're like, sounds like a snare. What do you want, man? Like,
Yep.
the drummers go, ooh, but wait, is it mahogany or are the reinforcement rings made out of maple or what? And it's like, yeah, that's the kind of stuff I get into that, only drummers can talk about.
Totally.
Yeah.
You and I had a conversation about that the other day. I love Black Beauties. I'm a Gretsch guy, but Black Beauty and Superphonics, and I've got a couple of great metal Gretsch snare drums. I love the sound of metal snare drums, something over and above wood. So anyway, we talked about that. Anyway, so here we are in deck with Mike, and so tell us, Mike, where are you from? How did it get started? How did you become a drummer? I read in your bio that you lived in the band room and stuff like that, as we all did in high school. But talk to us about how it got started for you, man. Tell us about that.
I think, like the big music plant got started when I was in like kindergarten and about 4 years old, and I was really into disco in 1978, 79. Yeah, man. We had I remember one Christmas, actually, I remember this very distinctly. I got the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack and the Sesame Street Fever soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a real thing. I think they had like Bert, Grover, and Cookie Monster in the white lame suits, standing back to back, all going like that, like the Bee Gees, and Grover on the dance floor. It was awesome.
I remember that, dude.
I remember from that. Was it Cookie Monster on drums?
Good question. I don't know. Well, I probably still have it. I think I still have it in my vinyl archive, so we'll have to go back and look. But then I remember like a very cool disco song called I Was Made for Loving You. And I thought that's a really cool disco song. And then I remember seeing that, if you remember your Kiss trivia, and I'm sure you do, that Return of Kiss, the big Dynasty promo from like 79.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what they look like? They're superheroes. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And they played music. This is great. So I got into Kiss, and that never really ended. So that kind of planted the seed there. I took piano lessons for a number of years, and then finally was able to actually start drum lessons right about like 13. I was actually, kind of a little bit on the older side when I started, but I took to it really quickly and kind of knew at that point that's what I wanted to do. Or if I had any doubts, the very first real concert that I ever saw was Rush on the Roll the Bones tour, and I don't think I slept for a week after that.
Wow.
It's like, it's like, that's it. Like, here we go. Let's start.
Yeah.
And
that's for me.
Yeah, no looking back at that point. Yeah.
Very cool, man.
What state did you grow up in?
Michigan.
In Michigan.
Yeah.
Detroit, Rock City, man.
I was born outside of Detroit.
Okay.
Moved to Jackson when I was a kid. Did most of my, for you, if you need to look at the map of Michigan, Detroit's over here. Born over here. Grew up in Jackson, which is like right in the middle of the Palm, close to Lansing and Ann Arbor. and when I was halfway through high school, moved to Grand Rapids on the
Oh, wow.
west side of the state. So yeah, Michigan until I was 18, for sure.
That's awesome. That's our keyboard player in my band, Walt Thompson's from Michigan. So that's awesome, man.
Do you know where?
Fantastic. I think Ann Arbor. I'm pretty sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, how did you get to LA? Did you come out here to play music like a lot of us did?
Not initially.
Okay.
I went out to. I was not that adventurous. I want to do the college route, make my parents happy. So I went to Indiana University and got to study. I remember what I said at the Sabian thing. I go, watch your feet. I'm going to name drop.
Yep.
I got really lucky because I didn't know when I got to Indiana that one semester later they were going to add Kenny Arnold to their teaching roster.
Oh,
but I was lucky enough to get in with him, and I studied with him almost my entire time there.
Wow.
But after that, because I still wasn't quite ready to move to New York or LA, I moved to Nashville, where the whole arena country thing was going on. Remember, like when Garth Brooks and Shania Twain were blowing up, and it's like, oh, country acts are using pyro now, cool. And it's kind of seemed like they were giving away gigs at the state line once you crossed in. So I moved to Nashville and actually ended up, here's name number 2, met Fred Curry from Cinderella, who was down there, and talked to him. And short story long, Cinderella goes back out on tour like a year and a half later. And one of the bands that opened up for him was a band from LA called Hair of the Dog. And he got to be good friends with them and was impressed by them. And when they were looking for a new drummer, he gave them my name. So that is how I ended up moving to LA in 1999.
Cool. Now, you said, we talked a little bit about this at the Sabian thing, about the Kenny Arnold thing. I'm a huge Kenny fan. I mean, so you guys have obviously, because you play with John Cougar and you did a video with him too?
With Kenny. Yeah. Kenny brought me in to play percussion alongside him. This was in 93. He put Mellencamp had just put out a record called Human Wheels, where he wanted Kenny to use a whole lot of percussion. There's a lot of percussion on that record, from everything from regular shakers and bongos to like found items like trash cans and like potato chip tins and stuff like that. Cool, and so he goes, oh, we need some kid to come in and play. What about that kid from the pep band? I was in the basketball pep band at the time, and I guess Mellencamp had seen me play, and Kenny was like, oh, that's my student. Like, so I got to play percussion alongside Kenny for a bunch of Mellencamp stuff. I was in one of the videos, and we did the Arsenio Hall show and an MTV special in Chicago, and that was a lot of fun. I was 19.
Wow. Were you playing hand percussion too, Mike? Were you playing conga?
Yeah. And my favorite thing was they took one of those 70s Brady Bunch style trash cans, like the big metal trash cans. Yeah. They turned it upside down, put it on a big conga stand, and I beat that with sticks on a couple of the songs.
Oh,
it was awesome.
That's awesome.
Wow. There's Kenny and there's me just beating on the trash can on the Arsenio Hall show. It's like, all right, okay, this is fun. I like this.
So did you study conga with Kenny as well?
Not so much on congas and bongos, although the funny thing was, even though I was a jazz major, and don't ask me anything about jazz because I was like the most mediocre guy that ever got out of there, but that was the only option. Either you were classical, jazz, or music education, which meant you also had to study violin, trumpet, clarinet. Like you had to learn a little bit of like every instrument. I was like, no. So drum set players typically did jazz, but you still had some classical requirements that you had to do. So Kenny, just by requirements of the school, had to teach us all his students like some timpani and mallet instruments. I ended up like doing a 4 mallet like a classical lute piece for my recital, and it's hard. Really and it sometimes I know we had to do it, and it's good to get all the theory and stuff like that, but I remember Kenny going over the mallet pieces with me, and I'm like, here's like one of the greatest drum set players ever, like can we please like just do more drum set stuff like the whole time? But he had requirements that he had to fulfill. So, we did
I'm
that.
blown away that Kenny was with Mellencamp and doing all that studio work and still teaching at a university. He must have a clone.
Yeah, right. He has a twin brother.
He does have a twin. He actually does have a twin brother. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Oh,
yeah.
No, I did not know that.
He does. Yeah.
No, no kidding.
Really,
oh, well, maybe.
Seriously does. Yeah.
Well, maybe they both drum. And that's how it gets done.
I don't know. Maybe he does. He could probably smuggle them in and out, like who would notice? Because
it's a stunt double,
Yeah.
Although I did hear that Kenny does his own stunts, that he doesn't use a stunt double. So
I would not be surprised if Kenny did all his own stunts like all the time. I mean, if you've ever met Kenny, he's not a big dude, but he is rock solid. He is 100% protein all the way. Like he's all muscle, and and he plays like it. I'm sure you.
Dude, I met him at NAMM one time, and we hung out and talked just a little bit, and I was trying not to be fanboy, but I was he's a really good drummer and one of my favorites, and I'm tall. And he's like, man, we ought to get together sometime and play football. And he punched me in the arm. I was like, damn, dude. And he didn't mess around, but he's a super cool guy. So, from there, how did it go from there? So you say you didn't study jazz, but you had to have jazz to get out of there. Oh, no, what all did you do with jazz? What all did you study and do jazz wise?
With one of the big things that Kenny had us do was on the syncopation book, the Ted Reed book, and basically just he at the time, because I really hadn't studied anything like this, he really blew my 4-way independence thing wide open, which obviously for jazz that's kind of something you need to do. And so we worked a lot on like the Ted Reed book with syncopation and following those patterns with he was like, all right, okay, buddy. So we're going to do 8th notes on the snare drum and all the quarter notes or dotted quarter notes on the bass drum, and learning how to, interpret, not only, increase the independence, but interpret lines of musical passages as well. In the same way that a lot of times, sometimes drummers, especially jazz drummers, don't get a chart. It's like, all right, here's the lead trumpet. Look at that. Yeah. Check it out. Here's where all your hits are going to be. Yeah. And, having to, look at that and come up with the drum part. So there was that. We worked a lot on my control. I remember, because at the time, it was young man, I only been playing drums about 6 or 7 years at that point. So everything was like, God. And he's like, no, you got to bring it down. We're not going to play, not going to play jazz with marching sticks. Like you bring it in, and that was a big help too. And learning how to play the ride cymbal and how to play the hi-hats without just thinking of them as, spang, spang, lang, all one volume all the way through, but how to what swing was and how to try and bring that out. So that's what we had to do.
Do you feel that that's helped you in your rock drumming and metal drumming and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember reading an article, I think it was Anton Fig, one of my other absolute favorites, who said it's learning how to play soft is massively beneficial, because it's way easier to go from soft and then learn how to play loud. It's really hard to be a really loud drummer and learn how to play soft. And that was definitely the case for me. Yes. And so, but it wasn't all jazz all the time. In fact, I remember the very first assignment that Kenny had all his students do, he wanted us to be able to embrace the groove and be able to recognize simplicity where it needed to be. And so he had us all transcribe note for note Back in Black and then play it, convincingly, because as anyone knows, it's you can play the notes, but unless you put that fat groove in there, unless you make someone, make that face.
Yeah, right.
You can't just go it's like, no, you gotta. And I remember Kenny saying dun, 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 dun. He goes every backbeat is its own little solo, and it's ooh, that's there's got to be some weight behind it. It is that 2 and 4 is massively important, especially with a song like that.
Right.
And when you transcribe it, you see like there's no ride cymbal, and there are only 2 tom hits in the entire song.
Yep.
Everything else is kick, snare, hi-hat, and crashes, and that's it.
Yep.
Yes.
So yeah. So there was jazz, but it was, of course, I kind of, that's all I wanted to ask Kenny about was rock, because that's where I had my feet planted firmly. So he was happy to oblige.
That's awesome. That's great. Rick, you have a question. Sorry, bud.
So how did it evolve from there? So how did you start getting all of these other gigs? What band was next after that?
After Hair of the Dog, and Hair of the Dog did a couple of records. We were poised to do well. Maybe if it was like 10 years before or 10 years after, I don't know. I think it was just kind of wrong, right place, wrong time or something like that. Cause it was a lot of fun and we were happy with the tunes that we made, but we didn't get picked up for, a major deal or anything like that. So the band broke up around, I think, the very beginning of 2002. And our management, who also handled Steve Vai and Lit, the band Lit, among others.
Oh, yeah.
Also handled a blues artist named Eric Sardinas that we had met a couple times and always went to see him, because if you hadn't seen him before, like, he is like, it's not boring blues. He's like the most exciting blues artist I had ever seen at that point, because he does, it's not like, calmly standing there going twing, 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 twing. I don't know. Go
twing.
But he plays a dobro through like a Marshall stack, and he turns it up to 11. And, he looks like he weighs 98 pounds soaking wet. It's like, tight pants, no shirt, tattoos, and like a cowboy hat with a snake on it. And, we would go and play these blues festivals, and people are like, what the hell is this? This is amazing. And because he's fantastic. And so he was looking for a new drummer. And since I had known him, I kind of, he had me do some homework first, but I ended up hooking up with him in 2002 and gave me my first taste of real touring and international touring. In fact, I was petrified because the very first show I ever played with him was in Germany. And I'd never been outside the United States before. So it was all kind of a wash, but I got to play with Eric for a few years. That was a lot of fun. End of 2004, I left his band, and it was around March, April of 2006 that I ended up hooking up with w.a.s.p. So,
fun.
That got to that point. Yeah.
Now, did you have to have big hair? Did you have to get out some Aquanet? No.
Oh. They were past the big hair, as most of, like, the 80s bands at that point had. But no, luckily I had to just be able to play well. There was a guitar player who ended up kind of giving my name to them, and got in audition. He had me learn 4 songs. I called in sick to work that day just so I could work on the songs and audition that night. And I was working a delivery job for a magazine distribution company in Eagle Rock. And I get there on it was a Wednesday, and Blackie goes, so what's your schedule? And I go, well, I got this job. I work Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, and work usually 5 a.m. until about 3 p.m. And Blackie goes, okay, Friday's going to have to be your last day of work. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It ended up being okay. And I didn't tell, my bosses, because they were really cool. Like the guys at the magazine place were, really down to earth, the guys. And I just said, I'm really sorry. I can't give 2 weeks, but something's come up and I have to leave, and I have to leave now. And they're like, is everything okay? You gonna be all right? And I'm like, I'll be all right. I try to try to hide, the enthusiasm. And so, then I was with them for 9 years.
All right,
Man, that's awesome. We have a visitor. We have a visitor. Let's see who this is. I want to see who's talking to us.
Who is that?
Come here, Jeb. Come here, budgie. Hold on.
This is rock and roll, folks. Y'all
This
think
is
it's
total rock and
big
roll. This is
back
total rock and roll.
start,
Well,
Yeah.
hello.
parties.
Look
This
at
is rock and
you.
roll. Aw,
This is total rock and roll.
hey.
Hi.
I was joking with Mike before we got on the air because he told us that he had his daughter there, and
Yep.
that he was being dad today, as he is every day, and he goes, you know, I might have somebody online with us. It might be our visitor. I said, hey man, you're in W.a.s.p. I was expecting to see like meat hanging on the wall, and you have a baby and you're and a Thomas Kincaid on the back of the wall there.
Almost looks like it, right? Yeah.
It does from the one side. It looks like a Kincaid, but that's so cool. That is awesome.
There's a pentagram in blood behind it. I promise. I just.
You didn't want to scare anybody, so once you get, just in case there was some jazz players watching, right?
That's right.
You
Yeah.
covered the pentagram.
But this is the real face of rock and roll, folks.
That is so
It's not
cool,
what
man.
you see on an MTV video. That's all fake. Those videos aren't real. This is real.
I'm sure. I mean, one of the great things about being on tour and spending time with Blackie is, as you can imagine, he had stories for years.
Oh, I can
Because
imagine, dude.
The
I can imagine.
80s sounds like for many bands were like that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
people actually bought records, so record companies had money to spend on
Right.
videos, and and I'm sure some of the backstages were crazy. But by the time I got, there, two of the other three guys, like had serious girlfriends. Blackie was married, and so it was actually fairly quiet backstage.
Yeah.
In fact, Blackie kind of had a rule. It's like, backstage is mainly just for us. He didn't want 80 people come and fill up the backstage area, and then all of a sudden someone's wallet is missing. Like,
right.
He played it safe that way. But yeah, back when I had them on my wall, it sounds like there was not only hairspray, but a whole lot of other stuff going on too.
Yeah, I can imagine. So did you have to break out some double kicks for that gig? I would imagine that'd be part of it.
There was some, there's some certain tunes like Love Machine and Hate to Love Me definitely had double kicks going on. Although he had kind of a cool approach, like it wasn't really going for speed. Like, I didn't have to, try to do behemoth level, double bass dexterity on that. It was more, and they didn't want me to do it like too much. Obviously, double bass could be overused. And China cymbals was another. I think I had like 2 on my kit, and Blackie and Mike Duda, the bassers, are like, leave those pie plates at home. We don't need that. They're not into them. So, but Blackie with the double bass, I remember him saying at one time when I had them tuned like as close as I possibly could, and he goes, "Why don't you give your left one, maybe go a little lower?" And I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, that actually like it adds to the sonic sandwich when there's actually, So his idea was like, so it didn't sound like a machine. So it didn't sound like just the same da 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 da, over and over again. But a little bit more of a classic rock do da do da do da do da do da do da do type of vibe to it, and it worked. And even our sound guys are saying, I'm like, how the double kick sound? They're like, dude, amazing. With the 2 different tunings on it. So
that's cool.
Fun.
So you actually did play
Gene,
2 bass drums then.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they were.
Gene plays around a little bit with that stuff. So,
I'm sorry.
My brother-in-law Gene Hogan plays around with a little bit of that, like a different pitch on the kicks. Yeah,
right.
But you say the name, I have to genuflect.
I know.
Gene is
brother.
Gene has been one of my absolute favorite drummers since Strapping Young. Since Death's Individual Thought Patterns record. In what was that 95, I think so, and then but especially with Strapping Young Lad's City record in 96, I heard that, and that changed my freaking life. That record is so good, and Gene is good on it, as you can imagine.
He's the most humble, mellow guy in the world. I couldn't ask for a better brother-in-law, and he's the most naturally talented but hard-working, dedicated individual. His old band Dark Angel is now out doing shows, so you're going to start seeing Dark Angel back.
I saw that. I saw they were going back. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. Yep. And he just did a tribute to Death. It's Death to All. And he just did 3 weeks in Europe with that. And he's going in the studio next week to record with a new Death Clock album. Yeah. I don't know if that's a secret, but
is it going to be Death Clock, or they had to change it because Cartoon Network like still owned the name with Metalocalypse? What was it?
Metalopolis.
Yeah. No, the name that Brendan Small
had. I can't say it either.
Galacticon.
Yeah.
Isn't that like, I mean, it's effectively like the same music and the same guys and the same voice, but I thought like he had to change it because like Cartoon Network still owned the Metalocalypse and Death Clock name. So Galacticon is just like the same band, but putting new music out. I could be wrong about that, but
I'm not sure. I'll check in on that. I'm not sure because he said he was just going to record Death Clock. So
that's
going to be
makes
exciting.
Me really happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then that's some double kick work. And yeah, the different pitch thing can definitely work.
Yeah. And I mean, like they were like luckily the pitch was the only thing that was different. Like, the overall sound, had same heads, same beaters. And I tried to be as consistent as I possibly could with them. So yeah, just the pitch that added just like a little bit, little different ingredient to the low end, and it worked. Yeah.
I love it.
Gilbert Garcia wants to know how many toms did you use on the on the W.a.s.p tour?
On the W.a.s.p tour?
On the W.a.s.p tours.
Yeah. I had the same set. Well, most of our touring was in Europe, and that kit was 4 toms, 10, 12, 14 rack toms, and a 16-inch floor tom. Okay. And that's what I had at home too, except for there was 10, 12, 13, 16. When I got a new kit, a Pearl reference kit when I was in W.a.s.P. And it was actually Blackie's request. Another thing that he did, because he goes, "What are you going to get?" And so I described it to him, and he goes, "Hey, maybe instead of a floor tom, can you get that 16 as a rack tom?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." And because he said he never heard a floor tom that he actually liked. That
really
to get really that suspended, good low end sustain is a little bit better off of a mounted tom as opposed to a floor tom, in his opinion. And
did you mount it where the floor tom would go, or did you mount it up above the kick drum?
Yeah, where the floor tom would go.
Okay, so it's like a suspended floor. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wow,
and I just couldn't, do the Randy Castillo thing and put my foot on it and bend the pitch.
Right.
But yeah, and I still have that kit, that kit and my 1994 Pearl Prestige Custom, which was my W.a.s.P. kit in Europe for almost the whole time I was in the band. It's like they still sound amazing. Although those are actual floor toms. And I bought, and you're gonna love this, I bought an 18. Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah.
I want some more blueberries too, if you want to know the truth.
Yeah.
She ate them all.
Well, dude, come on.
She ate them all, and now she's on the tomatoes. So
on to tomatoes and blueberries. You can't do that.
She's a big produce kid, and we're gonna ride that train for all it's worth, because what do they hit, like 3 or 4, and then it's like, no, I don't want that. Right? It's chicken nuggets and mac and cheese like every day. That's all.
Hey, has she started, Mike? Has she started drums yet?
She likes to play. Yeah.
Yeah.
And more than anything, though, she's singing, and because so we're playing the Encanto and Moana songs on just like constant repeat. But her pitch, like she's not even 2 yet. She's not going to be 2 till the end of July, and her pitch is actually getting noticeably close.
Really?
She's
That's
saying,
cool.
like, this is really cool. And of course, when she cries, it becomes evident that she's got a set of lungs that rivals Rob Halford. So maybe she'll be a singer. I don't know.
There you go. That's fantastic, man. That's fantastic. Hey, now I got a question for you in regard. You do a lot of the Ultimate Jam nights, right? Up in Hollywood. Sure. And I've talked to a few guys that have gone up there and played. What do you when you do the Ultimate Jam night, how do you prepare for that? Because it's an Ultimate Jam night. You just What do you bring to the table? Do you prepare for it? What do you do?
One of the things I think it's safe to say about Ultimate Jam Night is you need to know the song.
Yeah.
You need to know what you're doing. Although they help you out as much as they can, because they say, okay, we're going to do this song, but it's this version, and we're going to do this ending, so that they make sure everybody knows, what version, or if there's any changes or something like that, or, if they want to rock something up or bring it down, because every night's like a different theme, right? Like one night they had, one of my favorites was bass night, where they, different bass players, and there were a couple of tunes where they had multiple bass players, but the highlight that I got to play drums on was when they did Spinal Tap's Big Bottom. And I think if you've seen the Whiskey, like there's the balcony, there's the stairs, there's all the different neighbors, and I think it was like 22 different bass players all scattered around the entire Whiskey, all playing Big Bottom at the same time. I'm like, this is like one of the greatest moments ever. So
that's awesome, man.
So I had to make sure that I knew, big, like the whole thing of Big Bottom, because I had only seen, in the movie you only hear like 30 seconds of the song or something.
Yeah.
And so, you gotta know the tune. I'll frequently use the Kenny Arnold chart method, which is, as opposed to writing out tunes like note for note for note in each measure. You just make sure first 8 intro, tacit, first 8 measures, come in with a fill, just bass drum for 4 more bars, and kind of writing it as like just kind of a map, as opposed to a 5-page chart that you have to keep your face buried in the whole time.
Right.
So it's like, rocking, okay, double chorus coming up, okay, right, and you are getting all the accents and the hits. I'll do that frequently for Ultimate Jam Night, and just make sure that I kind of keep it taped and down low, so that no one sees them staring at a chart the whole time.
Yeah.
Right.
But I do that a lot, unless I'm lucky enough that it's a song that I already know, which it frequently is, because they'll bring me in to do a lot of the like the more the hard rock and metal stuff. Although getting to play like a couple months ago, I played Almost Paradise off the Footloose soundtrack.
Oh no way!
Which was really fun.
Yeah,
because I can't remember who the female singer was. Paulie, the host, sang the lead vocal part, and it was, as much of a cheesy song it is, like we both came off stage, we're like, that was fun, like that was really awesome.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool.
It's a blast.
Full circle. You went full circle with your disco.
Completely. Yeah. Just, I'll play tunes, just Molly Ringwalding it, like, all the time. Like across the stage. Oh yeah, dude. You talk about 80s also, like not just the rock stuff, but yeah, that's where I have my feet firmly planted as well.
That's awesome. That's
Simple
awesome.
Simple Minds comes on. I'm like, yeah. Yes.
We got a question here for you. What's your warm up look like? What does it include when you're warming up backstage?
I usually just stretching for sure. Doing all the stretches, especially the ones that I saw on Gene Hoglan's Atomic Clock DVD.
Yeah.
And kids are going, "What's DVD?" And so I'll do the stretching. And just either on a pad, if it's if I can do it quietly enough that it won't annoy everybody, or without too much impact, I'll just stand there with my sticks and air drum, as long as I don't do that too hard, because since there's nothing to bounce the stick off of, you can be careful about that. But I'll do that. If it's a heavy gig, like for W.a.s.P stuff, I stretched everything, like got on the floor, bend, touch the toes. And stretch the hamstrings and really tried to stay loose. Again, especially for a big metal gig, I'll always try to hydrate as much as possible. Like, make sure I got the water, because that's burned me a couple of times too when I've played. I remember doing a thrash metal gig with a buddy of mine that was going to be like 70 minutes of just Slayer type beats, and I thought, did I have enough water today? Oh no, I had 2 Cokes. I'll be fine. And like 45 minutes in, playing kind of, and my right hand goes,
Yeah.
and just
no.
cramps. Yeah, you guys have probably had like those cramps where like you
Oh
actually
yeah.
have to pry your fingers open,
Yep.
like
Yep.
oh god, and then so just did for the rest of the show, and it's like, nope, that happened because I did not have enough water, and so yeah, having water and hydrating is definitely like a huge part of like the whole warm up process, really.
Right. It
But,
is, man. Stretching's a big thing. I'm right there with you. I stretch out a lot, before I play, and then there it is. The finger exercise. It's a famularo thing. Always
Sure.
doing that. Getting the fingers going and stuff like that. That's great, man. That's very cool. Hey, so I got this for you. When I did see you at the Whiskey a few weeks ago when you were with Shark Island. The guitar player, I don't know his name. What is his name?
Are you talking about August? August?
Not
Dadra?
August. I did a gig with August once. No, the other guy, not August.
The other guy was there was the bass player.
Bass player?
I'm sorry. You're talking about Alex Kane.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I was talking to him, and I had mentioned to him that I enjoyed the show and I liked watching you play. And I go, how many times you guys rehearse? He goes, oh man, we only rehearsed once. I was like, wow, that's awesome. And I said something about that. I knew you through, we hadn't met yet, but I knew you through Sabian and who you were. I was aware of you. And then, and he just goes, man, Mike's the best drummer in LA, hands down, best drummer in LA. That's what he said. And I was like, that's very cool.
I'll give him the $5 later.
Well, and I'm telling you, dude, you did kill it that night. I know that. I watched you all night. You played great. How did that gig come to be? How did you prepare for that in one rehearsal? Because you guys were spot on and just killed it. Great show. How do you prepare for that? What do you do?
We got lucky with that one because just like Ultimate Jam Night, everyone had done their homework. I got that through Alex. Actually, Alex is one of my best buddies on the planet. He's recommended me to do a whole bunch of stuff. So I've worked with him like dozens of times. So when he was producing the Shark Island record and knew that you wanted to do shows, he goes, hey man, like this is right up here. You're gonna kill this. Let's do it. I'm like, yeah, sure. So he was actually able to give me the tunes like I think like 2 months ahead of time. So I was able to use the Kenny Arnold charting method and write everything out. So by the time rehearsal came, I was well familiar with the tunes, and we just really had to iron out, just some of the finer details.
Right. Yeah. It was very, and the thing is, I was aware of Shark Island, and I was, what was the hit? Paris is Calling. Is that the name of the song?
That was one. Yeah.
Okay. That was their big hit. And I obviously was aware of that tune. And I was aware of the other tunes, but when we got to the show, I was like, man, I forgot about these tunes, and what a great band. The singer was so charismatic. What a great show. That was very cool. That was awesome. Well, good on you, man. That's cool. And then you got the call to sub in Quiet Riot. That was cool. Yeah. And you got to play with Rudy Sarzo. That's hip as hell. That had to have been a real thrill.
Yeah. That was just the I've only gotten to do that like only 2 shows with Rudy. I had subbed in because when Frankie got sick, they needed to bring in some subs. I subbed, and Johnny Kelly, who ended up becoming the new permanent guy, did some subbing out as well.
From Typo Negative.
Yeah.
I love Johnny Kelly.
Typo and Danzig. Johnny. I love
my wife's
Johnny
favorite
too,
drummer. Yep.
No kidding.
Yep.
Dude, his wife's a drummer. His wife's a drummer.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
We love like talk about space in a song. Listen to Typo Negative, people.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I think it was our lighting guy was playing me some stuff of like October Rust, and I think it's the song Haunted, which is like the last song, and it's like a 12/8 that the tempo, the BPM is like 2.
Yeah.
And like you listen and just playing it, and our lighting guy Ted, he goes, listen, he goes, each backbeat has its own zip code. It's so slow.
Yes.
But Johnny,
Yes.
like Johnny dials that right in. It's like pulling, completely from the Sabbath and the Black Sabbath and Zeppelin playbook, and Johnny is great at that.
That's
So
right. We
he
saw
fit right
Typo
in.
live back in the day, and Johnny Kelly delivered that live too.
Yeah.
What's a bass player for Rolling Stones? He's been with them for years. What can I say his name?
Jackson. No.
Yeah. Not Daryl Jones. Daryl Jones. Daryl Jones, right?
Jones.
Okay. Yeah. I saw an interview with him with Dom Famularo on the sessions panels, right? On the sessions thing. And he was talking about he played with Miles Davis for a while. And he goes in and Miles comes over to his apartment to listen to him play. He's like, "Hey man, can you play the blues really slow, 12-bar blues really slow?" And he goes, "Yeah, man." So he starts playing a 12-bar blues really slow, and Miles reaches over and grabs the neck of his bass, and he goes, "No, man, really slow." It's like, I don't know if I can play much slower, man. But I think that's one of the things that's hard to convey to students is creating music with space is hard. I mean, you mentioned double bass Love Machine with w.a.s.p, right? Okay, I'm not going to say it's easy, but you can create a vibe, you can create a groove, it's got space, you're playing notes, you're playing music, but trying to play music with space where there isn't a lot of notes, that's hard to convey, and that leads me into my next question. You do some teaching, right? How many students, how often do you teach? Where do you teach? I know you taught at MI. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm still on the staff at MI, although I took a leave of absence when my son relapsed. But if you're just joining us, he's doing great. We're getting treated. He's a freaking warrior. So I don't want to be like Captain Bringdown, but I do hope when they declare remission again, I do hope to rejoin the staff at MI because it's a lot of fun to teach there. I also teach at there's a more kids oriented music school in Van Nuys called Join the Band, which cool. If you might have seen a couple years ago, Dave Grohl put out like a promo thing that he did, and it was just called Play. And it was
yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
If you saw it, they interviewed some teachers and some students, and actually those were all teachers and students from Join the Band. His daughters, I think, actually took lessons there for a little while. And so that's a really fun place because like that's kids, like that can be kid, a lot of times kids learning their very first drum beat. And I always tried to be what my first real drum teacher was to me. Who was Randy Saunders in Jackson, Michigan, was my first real drum teacher, and I still talk to him today, which is awesome. But he was the guy who like showed me music because I love my parents, but I didn't have rock and roll parents. So he was the first one to really show me, Zeppelin, Frank Zappa, Gene Krupa, Vinnie Colaiuta, Buddy Rich. These were names that I didn't know until he told me about it. So I try and show that to the kids, introduce them to different styles of music and different drummers that they might know about. Although it's LA. So, I like at one point I had like this 8-year-old girl who was first learning her, her beat. And I said, one of my go-tos to introduce them to playing a basic beat is I Love It Loud, playing two bass drums and then one bass drum and then two bass drums and then one, for that group. And I said, this is by a band called Kiss. Do you ever heard of Kiss? And she, with this brightest smile, she goes, yeah, Paul Stanley was at my house yesterday.
Yep. That's LA.
Yep. All right. Yep.
That's LA.
I'm not surprised. Okay. So
where else do you go? Where else do you drive down a street and you see Dave Grohl riding a bicycle, right? He says, hey, is that Dave Grohl? That's Dave Grohl. Yeah.
I remember when I first moved here, like I remember like driving down the 405 and almost getting into car wrecks because I was convinced that like every other car, like I was going to see George Clooney and there's going to be, Lawrence Fishburne and like no. but you do run into them like in the weirdest places, like when you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
And I have seen Dave Grohl a couple of times, and Tommy Lee I saw driving down the freeway, and
I saw Eddie Van Halen once. I saw Eddie Van Halen on the 101 one time.
Yeah.
And I almost did crash because I was like trying to catch up to him. And I was like, get out of the way, people.
Yeah, man, yeah. Like waving them and then, hitting the brakes as you rear end the person in front of you.
Man, and it's not cheap when you rear end a Lamborghini, dude. I'm telling you, it costs bucks.
I don't even want to think about that.
Right? Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, I interrupted you.
No. What was I babbling about? I can't remember.
You were talking about the school and teaching and yeah.
That and private students as well. Like with lockdown going on, I kind of like going, wow. It's like if I'm going to do lessons, I got to embrace this whole Zoom thing. So at my practice spot, got some microphones and a little bit better camera, and was able to give online lessons to not only LA, but I did a lesson with a guy in Sweden, and there's a really proud to have a young student named Luca in Australia that has made monumental steps forward in what he's doing, because he's a big metalhead. And so I'll show him like, okay, well, if you're going to do that, it's actually easier. Just do it this way. And he's like, that's awesome. And he's like making serious tracks now. I'm like, it's like proud parent, like, that's my boy. You're my boy, Blue.
So rewarding doing that.
I love that. Yeah.
What about, I want to circle back around to the w.a.s.p thing. We talked about this the other day, and when you brought up Frankie, it reminded me, Blackie's a big Who fan. And a lot of the stuff, especially like on the Crimson Idol record,
absolutely,
dude, that's like, you got to be an octopus to play those parts, right? I mean, how close did you come, and how much work, and how much was he like, hey, you didn't nail that drum fill, or was he on top of that stuff? Were you really there with all that stuff?
Oh, you mean Blackie as far as like talking about the drum fills and stuff? Oh, yes. When we had right when I joined the band, there were a couple of tunes off of the Crimson Idol that we started doing from the start, like Chainsaw Charlie, especially, which is like, which is a machine gun drum wise. But in 2008 or 2007, I forget. 2007, he wanted to do, it was the anniversary of the Crimson Idol record that we were going to play the Idol all the way through. So I had to learn the drum parts as note for note as I possibly could. And the Crimson Idol is modeled and very much inspired by the Who's Tommy, as you can imagine. And
that's all Frankie playing, right? That's all Frankie.
It is mostly Frankie. Actually, 2 tracks are done by Stet Howland, who ended up kind of taking Frankie's place in the band once that record came out. By the time the Crimson Idol was out, Frankie wasn't playing with them anymore, and Stet Howland was in the band, and Chris Holmes had left, and Doug Blair came in for the first time. Doug actually ended up coming back right at the same time I came in as well. But drum wise, the way Blackie explained it was his big phrase was a controlled Keith Moon, in that wanted to take the style, the idea, the inspiration that Keith was doing, but a little bit more finite. It's like, okay, it's going to be this, as opposed to just the stream of consciousness, insanity, and genius that Keith Moon had.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we able most of the part where there are it's why I needed all those toms. It's one of the gigs you can say okay, a 4-piece kit is not going to cut it on this gig. It needed at least 4 toms to do all those rolls in between. So I spent a few months really getting those parts down. And Stet, just as genius too. There's one track that one Idol track is a song called I Am One that Stet plays drums on, and that one took me maybe the longest out of all of them, because it's the lane changing from fill to groove, as opposed to 7 bars, 1 bar fill, 7 bars, 1 bar fill, is by the count. like, you know,
Right.
two beats of groove, 2 beats of fill, 1 beat of groove, 1 beat of, and it's so schizophrenic, and yet it works perfectly within the song. And so that was always a big one for me. That was fun to play, and not only like get those parts down, but to play it like within an inch of your life, which is what it felt like when we were doing it live at that point.
Yeah.
I had like a tiny little bit of a break right after I Am One. So I knew like by the time we got to that song, I could like take 30 seconds and you're going to catch my breath, because that record's a workout in and of itself. And it was a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, that really is. Go ahead, Rick.
So, Mike, do you have any thoughts for drummers who want a career in music? Maybe what do they need to know?
I would say, I'm not going to give the sarcastic answer. Don't do it, man. It's, you know, because absolutely not. I would never tell anybody, you know, don't do it. I guess one of the biggest things that I could say is don't think that success is only limited to playing a stadium with your favorite, you know, in a great band and earning $18 million a year, and anything less than that is a failure.
Yep.
Because, and I don't want to, not to say that, you know, you need to drop your standards too far, but I'm saying, you know, I've gotten to do like a ton of different stuff. And I think diversity is kind of the key to it. I record, I do one-off gigs, I tour, I teach, a whole bunch of stuff. I got a call, like, at one point where a friend of mine was playing a venue in town. He's like, hey, like my drum tech just canceled. Like, you want to come down? I'll give you $100. I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? You know, and something like that can be fun. And I've gotten to, by opening yourself up and diversifying yourself, like the things and the opportunities that come to you will surprise you. W.a.s.p was certainly a surprise for me. I got that gig mainly because I was in a cover band that was playing Zeppelin and Beatles covers in Hermosa Beach on Saturday afternoons. And it turns out the guitar player who did a lot of those gigs then knew the W.a.s.P guys and just was able to give my name. So, but I would have laughed if you told me while I was doing that gig before I got the call, this is going to lead to something big. And I'm like, really? Like, I played the half empty room yesterday, The guys were great, but again, it was Saturday afternoons and it wasn't always a packed house, but who knows where it can lead to,
I think it comes down to what that old saying, you never know where something is going to lead. So whenever you stepped out to play, be the best you that you can be. Like Buddy Rich used to say, when you come to play, come to play. It doesn't matter if there's 2 people in the crowd. Your job is to entertain those 2 people. So do that. Do to the best of your ability. Right? Yeah.
And to be a team player. And to realize that, kind of what that means. It's like, and it's good to be assertive and to believe in yourself. But when the singer who's paying you says, I think I'd like a different fill here, or don't use China cymbals, it's like, all right, I'll put them away. I'll use them on the next gig. It's no big deal, right? To be flexible like that. And to not take it personally, or when they might not like what you're playing. It's like, it's your job to go, all right, don't like that. How about this? Because as I'm positive you guys know, not everybody speaks drummer. And so when a singer, one of my favorites, I had a singer tell me, like, the beat is good, but I need it more crispy. Okay, crispy. I've not heard that before. And it was like, kind of a dancey, semi-funky tune and stuff like that. And so I go, crispy. Okay, what's crispy? Bacon. What does bacon do? Sizzle. High end. Maybe like looking for more. So I started to do like more hi-hat openings and more 16th notes on the hi. And she's like, yeah, that's it. It's like, okay.
I love it. I love it. Crispy.
Right. I mean, I wanted to be indignant and go, crispy. Like, what are you talking about? Do you want a double paradiddle on the ride cymbal? Because tell me that. You have to kind of interpret what they want. And that's part of in the same way, like I can't tell a guitar player, do that part that goes, mealy, mealy, meow. It's like, they'd be like, what? You know.
Have you ever been asked to record the cymbals separately or one drum
Yes.
at a time?
Not one drum at a time. I have done cymbal overdubs separately. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And that was hard because like we took them completely off the kit. So I had to play like and do like the exact fills and try to remember like what cymbals I was going to hit. So I played the drum part without the cymbals. So and you know, and then try to go, you know, and
yeah.
But it sounded good. I've only had to do that. I think once every other time. I've been able to play it regularly. Luckily enough. Yeah.
Now, are you using Clicks Live also with some of these gigs?
It depends on the band. With w.a.s.p, everything was clicked because there was video. We had like 3 video screens behind us.
Right.
And so as we're playing Wild Child, we're in sync with the video. So you've got Blackie singing, but it's in perfect time with the classic video behind us. And so everything was hooked up to a click. A lot of times I will leave it to the artist. I'll say, hey, do you got a click preference? I can figure out where they go or you know, what the BPMs are. Or we could, you know, just do it raw. And a lot of times or if they go, I don't care, then it might be song to song. There might be some I want to use a click on and some not. But with w.a.s.p, they had this genius thing where our guitar tech that we had in Europe was like a tech genius. And we did it on DVDs. The whole video screens were done on DVDs along with the old style DVD players with 5.1 surround sound. And so one track was the organ and one track was like sound effects. And one track out of the DVD player was the click back to me that just came to me. And he wired up the pause buttons on these 3 DVD players to a pedal right next to my hi-hat foot so that Blackie could go, you know, I'm a wild child, come and love me. And I'd hit the pedal, get the count off and go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the video screens, all 3 of them would start completely in sync with each other.
Oh, wow. That's badass.
It worked flawlessly. It was great.
Nice.
You know, people say, like, how is everything like getting all synced up? It's like, well, DVD player, old DVD players was how we did it. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. That's fantastic.
Okay, actually, and you guys, just to talk about clicks for a second, you guys might have seen this too. After I was out of w.a.s.p and started doing gigs with people without clicks, I actually I had to kind of go back into the practice room and readjust my time. I was so used to playing with it that all of a sudden when it wasn't there, I felt very naked and felt my time go, brrr, you know.
Yeah.
And so I had to, you know, readjust. I don't know if you guys have ever had something like that too.
The band that I play with, I play to a click for one show. One of the shows that we do, I play the entire, well, with the exception of 3 songs in the Bob Seger show that I talked about, is all to click. And I hear it. It just goes to me.
Sure.
And then our other, like our original stuff, I play to click. And then a lot of the other stuff, I'd say 60% of it, just, you know, I play to click. And if you try it, for me, if I try to play a song that I'm normally playing to click and I do it without the click, it's like, what's happening here? You know, you kind of get used to it. It's almost like a crutch, which can be a bad thing. You know, you want to be able to hold it together, you know,
if you get too used to it. Absolutely.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. Now you live up in the valley, right?
I live in Simi Valley.
Simi Valley. Okay. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. And you can go Simi Valley or you can go Michigan on this. Okay. Cause we always save the most important question till last, and it's going to become a deck thing. Right. And if you haven't watched any of the episodes, you don't know what's coming right now. And it's scary. Okay.
I like scary.
It's live without a net.
Okay.
But it's the most important question. Rick, do you want to ask it or do you want me to ask it? I don't care.
I'll ask it because I'm half Italian.
You ask it?
Because I'm half Italian. There's a hint at where this is going. All right. Best pizza in Simi Valley. best pizza in Michigan?
Oh God.
Yeah.
The best.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pizza shop.
My favorite pizza in Simi Valley, if we feel like splurging, is Fatty's. Fatty's Pizza.
Fatty's.
Yeah. Spelled
Ooh.
FATTE''S, but appropriate enough is Fatty's Pizza. Yeah. And they serve like, I think it's like the small is like 24 inches. Like it's gigantic.
It's a bass drum, man.
It's also really, really good. And best pizza in Michigan was my Aunt Georgette's at our Christmas parties when we were
There you
growing
go.
up.
Oh, that's
Aunt
beautiful,
Georgette.
man. I'm with
Oh,
that.
dude, that's
Oh.
awesome, Aunt Georgette. I love it.
There would be 2 Christmas parties every year, the adult Christmas party, and we'd go to Detroit for the kids' Christmas party. And my Aunt Georgette would make like the kind of like the flat pieces, almost like the big rectangles that were resembled like lunch, like middle school lunch.
Oh
pieces.
yeah.
And but they were always
like in a cookie pan or something.
Yeah. But they were always so good. So she gets the gold medal for my money.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. Well, you know what? That's dude. We gotta get together and definitely hang for sure. I told Jimmy Keegan that I'm gonna come up and we're gonna do pizza. Hey, buddy, what's happening?
Rockstar.
Look at that. Hey, you and I got the same haircut, bro. We got the same haircut, buddy. Awesome.
That was
awesome.
Rhett wanted to chime in and say hi.
Hey, Rhett, how are you, bud? He got stage fright. He ran away.
He's vacuuming.
He's vacuuming.
Wow,
it's his obsession. He loves vacuum cleaners and vacuuming, and will watch vacuum cleaner videos on YouTube.
Hey, I got a vacuum.
Like, right.
Send him over. I got a vacuum. Hey, to everybody who's watching.
Stick dust over here if you want to come down to San Diego.
Want to go vacuum Bart's house? Yeah, you want to go vacuum someone's house?
What Bart house?
Bart house. Yeah, you go to Bart's house and you could vacuum, right? And he'll pay you 50 cents. Yeah,
I'll give him $1. I'll give him $1.
$1.
Yeah, I'll give him a full $1. Yeah, a full $1.
Righteous bucks.
I'm not going to cheap out on the
$5.
kid. Oh man! Oh, now it's a bidding war.
Bidding goes up. Yeah.
Hey, so we'll definitely have to get together, Mike, and hang. This has been fantastic.
Absolutely.
Hey, so if anybody's watching this today on the Facebook thing, and you didn't chime in, and you normally watch us on YouTube, there was some admin things when Jeremy had to bail out today. And for some reason on my end, I'm not able to stream it to YouTube, but I've got this video that is on Facebook and the Jimmy Keegan one. I've got to pull down and put those onto YouTube. So if you didn't get to see the whole thing, you saw part of it, it will be on YouTube. We want to thank you. Rhett is really, he's really he really wants to be on the show. He can be on if he wants to. We can ask him about.
Jimmy's awesome. Yeah.
Jimmy's okay. Yeah.
I love
Jimmy's
Jimmy.
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching. Mike, thanks for being part of our little dog and pony show here, man. You are the best.
Guys, man. This was a blast. We'll do it again.
This is a lot of fun, and we got to have pizza at Fatty's. We got to go get pizza at Fatty's. Yeah. Fatty's Pizza.
It's pretty righteous.
Right on. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on deck on Drummers Education Connection. Have a great week. We'll see you later.
Rock out.